So if we're going to talk about being able to put distance in, being able to try and apply some pressure, this is a good place to do it. Push in on the wound that they have as that win over the OT win that are otherwise keeping FAV one step behind, and see if you can turn it into success. Either way, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Club is still a very tough map against Talon, as proven by stats, and, well, FAV are just going to have to try and make it their own on their attacks.
Moving through the operator band slowly but surely then, we've got Maverick going by the wayside. Will be joined by Hibana, so a double hard breach ban. Still Ace and Thermite left available. Of course, the further we get into Siege's lifespan, the more options we have in terms of critical utility like hard breach, so it's a little bit more difficult than maybe once upon a day where you could get rid of 90% of those hard breach options. We've of course got the secondary gadget as well now, so Maestro is going to be the first defender to go, and then we're going to have Talon coming in with that final defender ban. Very quick. Seems like they know what the plan is, what the score is, where they're looking, and it will be the mirror. No major surprises there.
I remember when it was just a threat of, if you saw someone ban a hard destructor, if you banned the other one, the game was just hell to play because there was no other options back in the day.
Oh, you just wanted to watch the world burn at that point.
Like double hard destruction ban was like, do it, cowards. Like if you came in with the first one, but as you said, no longer, and a secondary gadget too. Geez, hard destruction is pesky, and that's always a story on Club. And I know it was something that we were talking about on Monday for EUL. Was when you're looking at CCTV as a site, a lot of teams aren't picking it first as they used to because it's become trepidatious for the defenders to bring themselves to.
Oh, it's a nightmare at the minute. We're seeing very, very few defensive wins on there. As we've discussed, the difficulty in keeping that east wall closed is forming a big part of it. And I tell you what, any team that can figure CCTV and cash out again and make it a stronghold, they're going to be kings of the hill for a little while here on Clubhouse, because right now it certainly is an enigma. It's proving to be one of those sites, as you say, that is just plummeting in popularity. But looking towards round number one here then, Jim and Bedroom. Interestingly, Soldier, we've got Frost on the lineup. Anybody, you could be forgiven almost for not being too familiar with Frost use inside of competitive. Of course, bringing those bear traps along. So anybody who stumbles into one of them, making it particularly difficult to move through windows. You're going to have to be careful there. It'll snap shut on the leg, put them immediately down but not out. And seeing a lot more action from those maps recently.
I think it's, you know, the list of things that Frost can bring now. You have the shotgun to open up what you need to. You have a 1.5 on the 9mm, which is a very solid gun. And then you have the ability to just slow and stem quick pace hop-ins in those locations. You are rare to see a team fall into a Frost mat, and it's always hilarious when it happens, but at the same time it's something that has to be cleared or it has to be avoided, and that's not the easiest ask. The first canister early to force Typon out as he's battered back, and it's going to cause a little bit of a rotation. Now they want to try and apply the pressure here onto Rafters. It's held by Kanos, who's just playing around the lounge to make sure he can get a bit of a split push here. The second canister gone. It's put them onto on half health, and Afro suffers now as he tries to swing in from the bottom of the quad wall, but that's a big blow because Monty now is going to have to play very cautiously.
It's fascinating because they've tried to push the Monty through the door before opening up this east wall, and look at the impact that opening the east wall has had there. Straight away, Aziz is off the catwalk and your Monty can move through. So there's a bit of interesting counterplay there. You know, is that push and the damage on the Monty worth the 2 smoke canisters that have been wasted? I would argue that there's a possibility that it is, because we know how important those toxic babes can be late on in the round. So anyway, the control has now been gained. FAV have got themselves into CCTV. They can move through cash. The defenders have had to dip away. So now we've got Tomorrow just holding the angle back in construction there, just going to try and use that shield for as long as possible, and also has the impact nades there to try and prevent a hard breach onto this construction wall, and it's something that they're obviously aware of. K-Rays are just throwing the flashbangs out there, doing everything they can, and that will more than likely be successful. No, cleared off. Great play there from Tomorrow just to prevent that angle being opened up.
Soldier is cautious about logistic hatch as Tomorrow has to pull himself a little bit further back. The pressure is starting to mount inside construction, and Monty is toe-to-toe with the doorway. They still have another smoke canister, so we can't get too isolated as of yet, but is being cautious as they wait for the approach to push Soldier into a more uncomfortable situation. The swing comes round either side of the construction logistics wall as they double back towards the jacuzzi, which is open, keeping an eye and keeping, well, a bit of a beat on the heartbeat and the pulse of the man trying to steadily make his way through. Finally, first blood is spilled inside logistics. The Soldier gets a rotate all the way down to the main stairs, finds some safety, but Typon is on his tail, making sure they steadily clear more and more. Only 20 seconds left now, and they're still going to try and find a way to get that diffuser in, and there it is, a very big kill. Monty goes down the cover from number 2, but Afro is just able to try and stick it in the corner. The C4 misses, the trap goes off, picked up. There's the trade, though. Caught in the bathroom, and now suddenly a 2 versus 1 post plant, 1 versus 1. There is the renamed Aziz. He's making sure he can keep up with the pace he's put before, and there it is. The first round, a little celebratory gift that'll be clipped later, and a defuse for Talon to take Jim.
Well, we've come in at absolute breakneck speed there into round 1. A little bit of everything. We had the attacker-defensive map control battle. We moved through the utility clearing. We got a diffuser down. Absolutely everything that you could hope for from a round of Siege, and even a nice little clutch at the end for Aziz there, just managing to put that first round on the board for Talon. And that really signals something for me for Talon there. I was looking at them earlier today and last night ahead of this game, and I just think that Talon are poised to make a real push towards the top 2 here. If I look at this league and I'm thinking, right, who's really going to challenge Cyclops and Cloud9 here? And I think Talon have got such a big shout to be able to do that. And the ability there to clutch that situation out shows exactly why.
Wow, they're off to a good start, but now they're going to head back down to the basement. I say back down because it is turning into a lot of teams' most familiar first play. The adaptations we're seeing across the board, I suppose, is going to come down to how aggressive they decide to take it. It was notable that they were on that smoke, on that entrance against that Monty very early on in the round, and as we saw, a huge amount of health was pulled out of what is often for a lot of teams the front of their push. So are they going to try to counter and nip at the ankles of the aggressing team, or are they going to play this in a more familiar method of playing down on the basement and keep themselves locked and ready for wherever he decides to approach, and usually dirt?
Doesn't seem like there's going to be too much attention paid, if any at all, to the top floor. That's pretty much being given over from Talon. I'd be interested to see just how long they maintain a presence on the mid floor. And as you say, the Monty has got to be first and foremost in their mind. Being brought along last round, they have to expect the potential for it here. Now, Typon pushing up immediately towards that top floor, which I can only assume means that FAV aren't really confident that the top floor is empty at the minute. I'd expect that information to be coming back from drones. We can see all 5 defenders are downstairs. Top and mid floor are completely clear. Now, the problem that I've got here is that by sending the Monty, Typon, who's playing behind that shield as well, that is going to take a lot of unnecessary time to sweep across that top floor. Think about how much quicker a drone can move than a Monty with his shield out, and that'll give you some idea of exactly why that's a problem for me. You're nearly a minute in here, and you've got Typon face checking everywhere upstairs still. This job could be done much more efficiently.
Yeah, moving around like a villain in a Resident Evil game before they've actually detected anyone is there. As long as they keep themselves sheltered and cubbied, they'll find their way through to the end, or depending on the recent villain, maybe they want to get caught. But we start to see them actually make their approach down to the basement steadily. Moto hatch is popped open with the Thatcher. None of these are going to be too much of a problem. As we said, there's still a huge amount of hard destruction in the capable hands, and a minute 30 for their time to say, well, we're comfortable and confident that all we have is all of you down here. Let's start trying to break that Kai claw. Goes off. Not sure if it actually caught anything though, but the pressure is still mounting from the opposite sides. I believe, yeah, there is stock hatch opened too. Shin takes a little bit of damage from, I'm not sure, I think that was his own round rather than anything in the pockets of the defenders. Yeah, still 2 impacts in tomorrow's, but now as we hit the minute mark, it's time for them to start trying to hit the site itself.
1 minute left to go, as you say. The seconds ticking away here. Typon looking to make ingress in towards site, but unable at the minute, just being held at bay. Canos still in a very difficult location for the attackers here, locked inside of blue behind the generator, and it can be such a pivotal point inside of this site. You really do need to keep a hold of that if you are the defenders. Now then, Tomorrow, very unfortunate, gets the opener onto K-Razor, but will follow through onto his teammate as well. Canos going by the wayside. 4 versus 3 effectively, as Shin on the Thatcher finds himself down. That'll make it 3 versus 3, sorry. And we've got Afro in control of blue, but shut down by Soldier. Factual 3 versus 3 now. Shin finished off ultimately on low health. 15 seconds left to go, and something needs to be done by FAV here. They've got Diffuser in the hands of Typon no longer, as he is shut down, and there is just absolutely no way in through Moto. They found themselves facing a brick wall, and Soldier finishes things off. Talon using the deployable shield and the utility extremely well in that round to prevent too much pressure coming in from any number of angles.
So from what was a very spread out and early aggression hold in the first round, changed its face, and rightfully so. They locked the door on the approach of FAV, and they said, no, nothing else anywhere else. You gotta fight us down here. And they were happy to. They were able to keep control of all of their angles. There was a little bit of a mistake and a TK, but in the grand scheme of things, obviously, well, those can be forgiven when you win the round.
They certainly can be. That's got to be the best answer to it. It can be the only answer. And K-Razor so far having a bit of a tough couple of rounds, opening death both times, so they'll be looking to maybe squeeze a little bit more out of K-Razor, especially coming in on those support roles. You've got to think about the utility that is being lost in those cases, and I think the kill in the first round was quite late in. We saw K-Razor attempting to breach the construction wall from cash through to construction, just to try and open up that angle onto Tomorrow. But it's something they certainly need to be careful and mindful of. You can't be losing your hard breacher first time out every single round, because it's going to hurt you in the long run. And I think for me there, FAV, they cleared out that top floor in a slightly strange manner. They could have had themselves more time downstairs. The focus could have been elsewhere. I don't think they were necessarily particularly short of time, but they did seem a little bit short of ideas. There was a bit of a scuffle around blue corridor trying to get control over that generator area, but the problem was, and the aim of trying to get hold of blue as the attackers, is to try and assert pressure onto the defenders and make them focus on multiple directions, which could have been everything that was needed to get that Monte in through Moto and start thinking about getting the diffuser down. But it was just never sufficiently in their control to really force Talon's hand, and they were able to just focus on that single doorway.
Well, Labyrinth is going to take a risky maneuver in trying to keep this tricked, but with the Thatcher on the board, you assume that they'll only matter of time as they try and put the pressure into it. Aziz down and holding logistics, rotating around to the top of the staircase, and has the possibility of pulling away if he needs to, but you can see the drone work of Shin coming up from behind and now in front, double stacked and set up as they'll catch the body retreating. Malusi can go underneath, can cause some problems, and has. Bandit is going for it, took a risk, and unfortunately didn't pay off. As I said, it's a matter of time in that all, and well, that time is up. Let's see what you can do next.
Not burning an awful lot of time, Labyrinth there. The East Breach opened within the first minute effectively. I think it was a couple of seconds past, but it's, for all intents and purposes, been opened up very quickly. Afro just going to hold a long angle now. We see this quite often from the catwalk outside. Using that utility on the Zofia just to fire in and make the defender's life difficult, try and clear out some of that utility. And you can see the bullets raining in, the tracers just flying past the screen there. And you can see that is a difficult angle for the defenders to then contest. It's a very long range shot for what is usually a lesser magnification scope. And it's never an easy challenge onto a Zofia out on catwalk. So Afro will no doubt just hold that line for as long as possible, just trying to prevent any defender pushing themselves back from cash into CCTV. And it's basically step one of starting to think about getting this diffuser down.
Well, there's a body dropped underneath. Canos is able to keep himself standing and steady inside. But with another body dropped on top, Labyrinth is the first to suffer. The Bandit did his best, but as I said, it's a very tough role to put yourself in on Typon. off the Monty and concerned about the possibility of somebody rotating round from the stairs they had previously droned. It's a little bit of a cautious moment, but with 30 seconds, they've got to turn that into a lot of success, and unfortunately, that's not how it goes. Dropped with the diffuser cold inside construction. Now Afro has to try and apply some pinch pressure because number 2 is very isolated. Well, not anymore. Sent to the afterlife with the rest of his team, and Afro underneath. 10 seconds, no diffuser, 4 bodies of Talon to go through. Well, we said this one's been tough for defenders, but Talon have said, is it?
Talon just coming through and absolutely dominating so far. Taking round number 3, that is a full successful defensive rotation. And what I mean by that is, of course, once you win a site here on Siege as a defender, you have to play 2 rounds elsewhere before you can return there. So effectively, by winning 3 consecutive sites, you can then just cycle back through. They will now be allowed back to their number 1 choice, which was gym and bedroom. And so far, I don't know about you, Em, but I'm looking at this FAV site and I'm thinking, I don't really think they've been too close to any of these attacks yet.
I mean, okay, the first was a harder one to judge because it got so scrappy, but I think honestly that was from Talon's side is the reason it was so scrappy. They played it very aggressive. They held angles that you don't usually see held with such, I guess, fervor and use of utility. It was a constant kind of battling back, but yes, for me, this will tell the story now. We've hit that rotation. We found ourselves back towards that primary site, and we've seen adaptation. We've seen Monty off the board. FAV need to step up and step into this, as I said, because otherwise they haven't really begun to scratch the surface of this defense.
From FAV's perspective, it's now time to adapt. They've seen not necessarily everything that Talon have got to offer,
sure,
but they've certainly seen how they like to play each site now. So as you say, it's about adapting, it's about moving quickly to face what's in front of you, because ultimately this is now going to run away from them quickly if they give Talon the opportunity. Every round here, now won on the defense, is putting them at a negative deficit coming into that second half. And FAV, they are going to want to get around on this board as quickly as possible, because getting towards the potential for a 5-1 half, a 4-2 half is not something you want to be staring down. Now Canos just holding himself. He's got a bullet hole. Is he going to take the jump out? K-Razor is on the rappel of half roof, but I think he just thinks better of it for the time being. He just moves himself away. Canos keeping himself ready to fight and maybe surprise. We've got the bandit playing on the wall once again. Labyrinth just trying to hold them out of here. Now, do remember that the site is not CCTV and cash. It is over in gym and bedroom. But this is quite often what we see, this fight for cash and CCTV, because the importance, particularly for the attackers, is once you get hold of CCTV, you can start using the number of windows that are along the master bedroom and gym wall. Thank you, medics, for showing us those. Once you've got control over CCTV, you can put pressure on those windows, and that's when it becomes very difficult inside a site. But look at that, Em. Once again, K-Razor, first death out, and that is hard breach utility gone again.
And it's gone so far from where you need it to be used. Obviously, you're looking at the pressure you have to apply across here. They've been able to utilize the ace to open up onto Jacuzzi, but that severely limits now the angles that they can try and get here. Dropped early is never good for anybody. Dropped as the kind of steady brick wall hard destructor. Oh, that's even worse. Now, though, they're trying to quickly reconvene and realize, well, that's locked and this is locked. They're going to have to apply some pressure onto Logistics Hatch to see if they can catch somebody out in the midst and the middle of the push here. It's Aziz that's holding onto it for now as we start to see those grenades roll down, actually from the opposite side, going deep from Jacuzzi. Drop the shield and stem and slow the Banshee, but look at this. They're getting aggro. They're looking for this kill. They're looking for the first, and they almost find it. There it is. There's almost a second through the body. It's a scrappy fight yet again, but Talon are coming off unscathed.
What a pinpoint pre-fire coming in from Aziz there, just able to shut down the man on the Jacuzzi breach, gets himself a second and a third, a triple on the round for Aziz. Now tomorrow he finishes things off with the final nail in the coffin. Afro goes by the wayside, and that is another round going over to Talon and FAV. Right now they look like they're floundering.
Yeah, as you said, we wanted to see what FAV could do here. We needed to see what adaptations they could bring, and we needed to see how they could step up to the game that Talon was putting forward. And it seems like the team that is stepping up and the team that's putting the distance is Talon. That was their best defense so far statistically. They were able to lock it down, not lose a single body. They had, obviously, that opening pick that was so monumental. If you want to drop anybody, it's often the hard destructor that is the one to take care of. And now we see FAV, they're pushed not only to try to redefine the operators that they're bringing and try to redefine how they're taking stuff, but how to adapt in the middle of a round. And that was unfortunately not the way.
Big problems for FAV at the minute. If we have a look down their kills, we are 4 rounds in and they've got 3 players who are yet to surpass 1 kill on the board. If we have a look over at the side of Talon, and that is going to tell a very different story. Look at Aziz now, 8-0, and once again just showing himself to be that talismanic leader of that site, getting in there and getting those frags and really giving his team the advantage. And what a great round he just had there. Absolutely dominating in and around that jacuzzi wall. Now we've got the castle brought along here. Round 5 is going to be a bottom floor defense, so we are following the same pattern of sites here. It's going to be Church and Arsenal. We've got the castle, we've got the attention to top floor. This is not something that Talon chose to do last time, so I'm just wondering, is this a little adaptation from them? Maybe they felt under pressure for a little bit too long last time around down in sight. We had that Monty pushing Moto door for a long time, and it just forced them to think, we need to change things up here and we need to burn a little bit more time. And that's what those top floor roamers are all about here, is wasting as much time as they can.
Well, they're droning out, which is a step up in pace compared to how Monty was played before. But as you said, now there is actually some purpose to the attempt on the clear and the clarification, and that did not catch what it needed to. A waste of utility, 2 wasted EMPs. There's a breaching charge just to rotate to the right place. Oh no.
Not looking great at this point, as Typon will move in on the Thatcher, as you say. Just a real waste of utility there, and such important gadgets as well, unable to move in quickly and try to pin these defenders down. Now Shin just trying to get the information from the drone there. They're going to see the Mozzie up on catwalk. Is Tomorrow going to get caught out here? That is the question. It's all well and good finding these defenders, but you have to be in a position to push them. You have to be able to find those kills and punish them, and right now that does not seem to be the case for FAV, certainly not with any fury, aggression or speed whatsoever. It was over 30 seconds ago since the Mozzie was spotted out, and still a single bullet yet to fly towards him. We are at 1 minute 10 and FAV are still not in any sort of position to start thinking about breaching hatches or moving towards site at all. They are static up on the top floor.
Wow, static is, I guess, really defined by being killed, as Afro is taken off the board. Another one falls to the opener hold of Talon, as they're able to just keep swiping and clawing and batting at any approach. And look at this. They've gone for the push downstairs. They've realized they only have 40 seconds and they couldn't even get the full clear on the bodies that they needed to. Aziz is only an impact grenade away from putting a lot of devastation around the back. They have the possibility of a pinch down the main stairs. Now the pings are coming out. They're just going to have to try and force it. But the longer they wait, the more likely we are to see those bodies from behind strike. Number 2 has somehow careened his way all the way up down the middle of the site itself, as we finally see those roamers look towards the site to offer some support. There's a quick swing, there's a TK, and there's a 2 versus 4 now, but it's now just number 2 on his own, dug in a corner with a diffuser, but he doesn't even get that far.
It's never an ideal start when the opening gunfights are going to see a team kill reigning, and that's exactly what was the case with FAV there, as they were just hit from every single angle by that Talon collapse, able to shut them down. Talon well and truly had their number there inside of round 5. So that leaves us now with a 5-0 start for Talon on the defense here. There is just very little for FAV to find, and when I look towards the rest of this game moving into round 6, I've got concerns for FAV even on the defense here, because it's not just about them not being able to get into position or move quickly enough. They're just not competitive inside of the gunfights either.
One last chance to not have yourself battling for death every single round on your defense, and one last swing with the big French man mountain is apparently the decision that you're going to make here. Okay, technically it wasn't tried on CC, but I'm curious to see how it's played on CC.
Certainly a roll of the dice here. Normally what you'd expect to see from a Monty in this position is trying to push up and take control of the catwalk. So East Breach needs to be opened quickly, because what happens there is the man out on catwalk becomes isolated and can be dealt with a little bit easier, because you can leave somebody either, as we've seen previously, on the catwalk externally or even on the half roof. That's absolutely fine. And you can hold down the line of sight that moves from the right to the left of your screen as you look at that site there, and it just cuts off any rotation back into the CCTV side. So there is then no option for the man on garage catwalk to move through that room of sight and into cash. So he's completely stranded, and then you bully him with the Monty. You get the Monty up there, you push him. He knows he can only take one eye away from the Monty, because if he takes both away, that shield will drop and the pistol will be put to work. So at that point, you're then getting a 50% advantage in any challenge that you make onto him, whether it be from below, whether it be from garage door. So that's the pressure that they need to make sure that the Talon defender on catwalk feels, and they need to make them feel it as quickly as possible. But Canos is in an interesting position here, and we might just have a run out. He's certainly looking to go for it. He's going to have a look. There's nobody there at the minute. He's waiting for that garage pressure. He's going to try and help the man on catwalk soak that up.
Well, let's see if they can make anything from it now. We can see Talon are repositioning themselves, and Afro is the first to go. Went for a hop out, and two punished at the same time. K-Razor is gone as well. Oh no. Yet again, two bodies that we've seen are the first picked, sent together this time. This time you've lost your Thermite and your Zofia. There's a lot of stuns and possibility and potential that's still up there. The Malusis might be slowed, the remaining Banshees by a Thatcher, but there's nothing else really to drop them, and there she is waiting in the oil pit, ready to strike in the hands of Aziz. There's a C4, caught by Typon, shuddered and shouldered, but he escapes, severely injured.
1 minute left to go. Typon starting the push up onto catwalk, but a little too late for my liking here. As you can see, this is exactly what his purpose was to start bullying that Wamai. But look, no impact whatsoever. Tomorrow still able to challenge onto Shin at the door. Smoke canisters raining out, making the Monty's life difficult, completely cutting him off from any sort of support. He has no option but to challenge, and then he is mopped up like a spilt drink,
Is that from the big book of Ace sayings?
It's actually from the big book of Jackie sayings. I've got to give him
Jackie
credit on that one. Since he's moved away from Siege, I feel like I've basically inherited those now.
It's a big beard to fill.
It certainly is, and I'm not a very beardy creature, it's fair to say.
8 kills across the entirety of FAV Gaming, suffered the other side of 2 flawless rounds, and otherwise have looked, for lack of a better word, lost. What will it take for them to find their way back into this and perform the old-fashioned reverse sweep?
It's going to take an awful lot, but at this point in time, all you can do is look at this one round at a time. Coming in here, they're going to defend Church and Arsenal. I think it's a good choice for them. Downstairs, it's one of those fortress sites where it's difficult to breach, difficult to dislodge defenders and to get in there. It doesn't look like there's going to be a massive roam presence here. We don't have the Mozzie. We do have the mute with Typon. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing up on the top floor or not. We've got number 2, and I think this is a good shout as well, bringing along the Valkyrie. Try and get information. We know how key information is in Siege. Get yourself any advantage that you can. Get those cams out in good, nicely hidden positions so that you can take advantage of them for as long as possible. Now, number 2 is going to have to be careful playing in and around bar area at the minute, but the challenge is coming in quickly from Talon. They are not messing about here. They want to get in and start dealing with this FAV defense. Now, as you can see, the push towards top floor is very, very tentative at this point. Interested to see the difference in speed. It took about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes for FAV to clear the top floor, mid floor, and to push down towards basement when there were no top floor roamers. I'm interested to see how quickly Talon do that by contrast. And as you can see, they seem to be moving through a lot quicker here.
I guess that's it. That's the change of pace that we were looking for. And the curiosities of, are Talon going to bring their aggro defense at times to their attack? Well, yes, they're already putting pressure down towards the site itself. And sure, FAV are playing some pretty aggressive response positions, lying down in the middle of the corridor. It's a bit of a risk play. You have Typon as the cover, but with the assumption of some soft destruction above you, well, it's something where you can also get caught out. 1:45. Now, they're confident that they have the rest of the map, and instead they're going to focus and focal down towards the site itself. The first bodies start to dance around those hatches tomorrow, opening up some angles to try to take care of the camera that's been stuck in the corner, and Labyrinth opening up dirt. Will draw some attention from the smoke, but that's all that they get so far.
The thing that Talon are doing well here is that they are pulling FAV in a number of directions. It's something that we often speak about on this site. There's pressure towards blue, which they're aware of. Shin is just trying to move around and keep himself unpredictable, but he knows that the challenge is going to be coming. Canos has got a line of sight on there. They've opened up dirt, so the shout is now coming in from K-Razor saying, look, we've got potentially a push onto dirt as well here. They get in the vertical angles, so now Afro has to move away. Attempts a Nitro unsuccessfully. And right now what is happening is that FAV are starting to spin round on their heels. Out comes the Nitro to the kill box as well, unsuccessful from Typon. So great play here from Talon to just get FAV spinning around and just unsure of exactly where this attack is going to come from in the final 30 seconds.
Whoever gets the first blood is going to be the one that can potentially ride that river all the way to the end now. Pressure comes down on Moto. Number 2 is the first to suffer, but he's still standing and still has a C4-2. There it goes. Aziz is able to find, and 2 more bodies double down. Shin gets some cover from the opposite side. The Sophia needs to apply some pressure here to be able to bring some of this back into their favor. Tomorrow goes mad dash, but gets caught out in the middle of it. Typon finds 1, looks for 2, can't quite find it. Labyrinth puts us in a 2 versus 1. Now they are the only one left. No diffuser in hand. Swings to blue, but finally FAV find a round.
I think FAV got away with one there, if I'm honest. It wasn't a bad defense by any means, but Tomorrow swung in from Moto door and was just completely unprepared for the gunfight that might face him. He wasn't in ADS, he wasn't ready to challenge, and he lost his life very, very easily. Now, if that kill goes the other way, it opens up the default plant spot. Diffuser is still in hand rather than cold on the ground, and I think that could have been a very different outcome there. But that is exactly what FAV needed. They've got one on the board. It builds them a little bit of confidence, and they can start looking towards the rest of this game. But got to focus on round 8. They can't move beyond that because ultimately there are no mistakes left for them. There's no point thinking about, right, if we win Gym and Bedroom, where do we go after that? Forget about that. You've just got to focus on Gym and Bedroom right now, and they have got to give Talon the workout of a lifetime here.
K-Razor hasn't been able to find themselves in. If anyone is listening, it's not quite the James Bond, it's an off-brand, but I guess, thank you, Medics, for singing that in my ear there. But it's a worrisome sign. Obviously, when you're the newest pickup and you're the newest addition to a team, to go 0-1-7 in one of those games that's the make or break in the pressure game, it's the worst possible time for it to happen because they were building up more and more success and more confidence each week. And I guess what we need now is, if that's a staple and something to look at, how much can K-Razor get confident over these next round? Focusing on Gym, focusing on where they can go from 0 to hero. Well, that's the hopes right now for any FAV watchers.
It's almost like, can we have 007 at home?
No, we've got 017.
We've got
He's got an assist.
Heading into round at number 8 then, we can see immediate pressure being brought on by Talon here, just shooting out those windows, looking to make sure that there's nobody getting established inside of CCTV. Labyrinth's going to open up that East breach, and that is nice and quick inside of 30 seconds. And I don't think the EMPs are going to be wasted this time, as we've seen previously from FAV when they were on the attack. Soldier able to get in there and get that jacuzzi wall open. So that is the 2 main breaches done within almost 45 seconds. This is a lot of pressure now for FAV to absorb, and the only thing they can absorb is the bullets from Aziz as he shuts down Typon, and that now leaves us 5 versus 4, and I get the feeling this could be a quick round if this continues.
Well, there it is. There's the pace, there's the explosions, and there is pressure right into the middle and the heart of this hold, pushing all of the bodies further and further back into more uncomfortable situations. K-Razor is that cornerstone right now, locking down on Logistics Hatch to see if he can double up on the support of somebody who is previously, well, with us and now no longer. But it's also the pressure that needs to be applied by Talon. A minute 20, and they were quick before, and they almost took it, but almost isn't quite. And yes, sure, they have a lot of opportunities, but why not do it now? That helps. Tomorrow takes Afro out and, well, leaves him just watching and sat alone, scratching his head in CC now. The smokes cover the plant, and the pressure starts to come either side. Tomorrow doubles down on number 2. Shin sprays, but nobody is home. There he is, though. Soldier round 1. And it is Talon all day.
That wallbang was just disgusting. It was just so precise, just absolutely straight onto the head and straight into the victory books. Talon go as they managed to close it out 7-1 here, and what a message they've just sent to the rest of the league. As I said, coming in here, you were looking at 3rd versus 4th, and I had a real feeling that Talon might be able to challenge towards those top 2, and they have really just staked a claim there today.
For one of those games that very early on we